questions over there.
Am I looking straight into the camera?
Yes.
I grew up Catholic, but specifically from my background, it wasn't something you did, you know, it wasn't something to be proud of, it was something to be ashamed of, and God forbid it be demonic or something else. I didn't want to embarrass my family. I didn't want to misrepresent myself or anyone that I loved. So, you know, I also studied and have a whole other life and whole other business. So it's hard sometimes to balance between the two, especially with the expectations of what it means to be a psychic and the type of person and the type of lifestyle that you're supposed to live. So it wasn't that I intentionally hid being a psychic or have any shame about my abilities, because I don't. I have no reason to be ashamed of my abilities. They were given to me by God, and God made me to be exactly the way that I am. So it just naturally occurred that way, and as time has gone along, my psychic work is starting to blend with the other work that I do, and more it's coming out. I'm coming out as a psychic.
You mentioned, you know, since this is about revelation, do you find certain patterns in your clients that come up more often, like love, money, like what would be?
The most prevalent questions and patterns are regarding love and finances.
Why do you suppose that is?
But it's our most basic survival skills. Sex, security, you know, it's our most basic needs. I get asked a lot of crazy questions sometimes by people, especially in the most inappropriate settings like weddings and funerals. They're like, oh, but what are my guides asking me? I'm like, I think, you know.
No, since you're obviously talented, so like, is Bigfoot out there? I want to know where Bigfoot is.
You're asking me about Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Bigfoot, yeah, he's out there. From, you know, erectile dysfunction to, you know, vitamins and physical conditions. Money, lottery. I actually had one experience when I did give someone the lottery numbers, but I didn't know. I just gave her the numbers, and then she called me the next day and was like, they won! The Virginia lottery numbers won and I didn't play it. So she'll later probably win the lottery, but please, you know, don't call expecting to get that, because that was a one-time event.
How many clients do you talk to on a daily basis?
How many clients do I? Oh. In one day? Anywhere between 2 to up to 20 in one day. People want me to either be like Sabrina the Teenage Witch or a guru. Crystal ball. They tarot cards. If there was one thing though I could do for people, it would be to obliterate shame. That is my number one mission in life. For obliterate shame, reestablish miracles. Reestablish that connection with their guides, and obliterate anything that tells them that there's something wrong with them, because there's nothing wrong with them.
My name is Devon, and I'm having a reading by Grace.
My name is Rae, and I'm being read by Grace.
I can't really tell my in-laws, that side of the family, that I'm going to get read by a psychic, because that's just really their beliefs. They wouldn't be happy with it, especially I would think my mother-in-law the most.
When I meet people, they either expect me to be a full-blown like black magic witch, or they expect me to be floating on some cloud of virtuosity and just have everything figured out. And it's not me. I'm just me. I'm a human being.
A witch type. I've seen negative stuff about psychics, and the witchery. And
when I think of psychics, I generally think they would be good people.
A demon coming in, the reading can go great, and then a month later, signs start coming about, that reading.
Are you a witch? Do you believe in aliens? Are you a prophet? Do you cast spells? Do you deal with demons?
When I first think of it, I kind of picture the like Hollywood version of a psychic.
I believe witches are psychic, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The turbans and lots of jewelry and kind of like gypsy looking. But I think when I think of psychics, I mostly picture like the old school idea of like a gypsy kind of woman.
I was raised in Pico Rivera, California, to a very Catholic family who did not believe in psychics or psychic abilities, or at least it wasn't something that we were supposed to practice. I was like oddly religious as a kid. I think I had my first existential crisis when I was like 3 or 4 years old. We were leaving church. For me, I think it was catechism, and I went up to the priest and I was thinking about this whole Adam and Eve garden situation. And so I went up to him and I said, "What if it's not real?" And I broke down crying, and I think I was 4 years old. It was my first existential crisis.
What do you think your mom will think of this?
My mom's gonna hate this, and I know she will, but I still love her. I always had a really strong desire for intimacy with God. I didn't want to just know God from a biblical context or, follow a set of rules. I really wanted to know God intimately and experience God. But as a kid, I was so passionate about it, and I don't know why or what led me to that. When we were learning about Jesus dying on the cross, I went home to my grandma's bathroom and I stole a lipstick, and she had just painted her bathroom, and I put crucifixes, like crosses, all over her bathroom. And she comes in and she screams and she's like, "Gracie Rae, what did you do?" And I told her, "Grandma, I just wanted to remind you that Jesus died for your sins." So I don't know. I was definitely passionate about my spirituality and my religion ever since I was a little kid. I have this friend who's a nun, and I love that she says, "Yes, I'm committed to the church, but first and foremost, I'm committed to God." So I would never say that I have any bias towards religion. I'm completely non-religious, but my first and complete dedication is to God, that I call Grace.
Raised Catholic, did the whole CCD. I went to public school, but every Wednesday night we did CCD. I got my confirmation. I had communion. So what I believe in God.
So I would say my religious beliefs are non-existent. I'm not super religious.
My family, they're Catholic, but I wouldn't say they're like extremely strict. My husband, on the other hand, his, they're they're very, 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 very strict Catholics.
I guess I would consider myself more so spiritual, in the way that I believe in energy. Karma, I think, is kind of a thing. I don't think there's somebody that controls it. I just think it's the energy. I think that you feel energy from people and you get senses about people because of their energy. But I don't necessarily think that's a religion.
I am a little scared and a little nervous that somebody who really doesn't know me can pull up information that I didn't, I mean, that nobody else really knows. It's personal information. So yeah, that makes me definitely nervous.
You're kind of like wondering what's going to come out of it, or if you're going to find out something you don't want to know, or the answer isn't going to be what you want it to be. So that's kind of nerve-wracking.
I'm not really nervous because I do readings a lot, so my job is just to show up, so I'm excited. I'm confident. During a reading, everything around me will change and the world looks different. So that's how I know I'm tapped in. It's kind of like this fourth dimension of existence where you just know, okay, this information is not, coming out of nowhere. It's very specific what's coming through. Okay. How can I serve you today?
There's a lot of things going on in my life. I don't want to be like too dramatic about it because things can be much worse, but I just want to make sure that my family's okay. If you need me to get more specific, I will, but are like me and my husband okay?
What's your husband's name?
Tom.
What specifically about your family?
Health-wise,
Mm-hmm.
all around. I don't think that I have an extremely large family. I don't have a large family. So I'm just wondering, my stepdad, he's going through some stuff right now.
What's his name?
Gary.
And what's he going through?
They found a tumor in his colon, so he has colon cancer. But I don't know. He had CT scans, and I don't know if it's spread. I'm sorry, the CT scans came back, and they said that it's clear. It didn't spread to any other major organs. But he's getting surgery, getting the tumor taken out. And it's not until they get the tumor taken out, if it spreads to like the lymph nodes, what stage it's in, if he has to go through chemo. But the doctor said that it's very curable, his state right now, which we're so thankful for. But I just want to make sure that he's going to be okay. And he's like the main caretaker for my mom too, who's also disabled.
Right. So he's actually in surgery right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, there's a papa or a poppy coming through, and it feels like a fatherly figure, maybe a grandfather, and he's just letting you know that he's with you through everything that you're going through, and he doesn't want you to feel alone, because I feel like you have such a limited family, and that just sort of ups the pressure in terms of holding on to that family. And I also feel like Gary, your stepfather, he's not just a stepdad. He's your dad. He's your daddy. You care about him just as much, and he also plays a really important role for your mother.
Yeah.
And you have such concern for her. You can just... What's your mother's name?
Barbara.
The whole reason for getting specific information that I couldn't previously know is for their guides to validate that they're really here. They're really here. You are really speaking to someone from the other side, or a guide from the spirit realm, or God. You're speaking to spirit. You know, I feel like they're showing me images of if you took Gary away from Barbara, Barbara would not be in a good position.
No.
And your guides want you to know that they're not going to do that to Barbara. And they're not going to do that to you. And Gary, the good news is I don't think he's going to have to go through chemotherapy.
Really?
Yeah, I got a very affirmative yes that this surgery is going to work. He's going to be okay, but he has to take care of himself.
Well, okay.
Because
Yeah.
And-
He's a very strong-willed. He thinks that, he's Superman, but we've all been trying to tell him, Gar, you can't lift, you can't lift anything for a while. He's like, yeah, do you know he thinks he's driving home from the hospital?
Right.
Yeah. So I'm like,
And that's-
really?
And that's very much
But
his
he's
personality.
Funny. He's funny like that.
And I think there's also part of him that he talks about, I know this sounds odd, but I can actually communicate with his spirit while he's going through surgery right now, and he's talking about your mom as his sweetheart, and it's kind of like he wants to be the man in her life.
Oh,
he wants
absolutely.
to be that masculine figure.
It's it was so heartbreaking when I was little and my mom and dad got divorced and all this stuff is very dramatic. My dad's still in my life and everything like that, but just fast forward and these unfortunate things happened to my mom, and it was meant to be. There is no other person in this world that can do it like Gary. So that's why it's we love him too, but we need him.
Right.
Right. So yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like I don't know how old you were, and please don't tell me how old you were when the divorce occurred, but I feel like in terms of the personality type, you drifted towards Gary as a stable figure in your life. So it doesn't mean that your father isn't important and isn't still your father, but he's very much a father figure to you as well.
Yeah.
So, and to the family. And
absolutely.
that's so important. So with Barbara, who I love, and she has this just natural comedy about her. I don't know what exactly that is, but they're showing me looking from the outside in, she's comical. So maybe she's not cracking jokes, but she's just a funny person to be around. You're like, oh gosh, mom, that's what you're...
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Who is this Poppy? Or this...
That's Pop.
Oh,
That's my
Pop.
Pop.
Okay.
That's my mom's dad.
Okay.
My grandfather.
Right.
Yeah.
So, of course, he would be the one to come through and to say, I'm not going to do that to my daughter.
Right.
I'm not going to allow her to be alone. Because there was a time when you were growing up that she felt very alone. And I know that you picked up on that. Something that might not be significant to me will be significant to someone else. For instance, I could say something like, okay, I see bubble gum or I smell cigarettes, and that might not mean anything to me, but I'll say it to the client and they'll say, bubble gum. And you learn to honor every single intuition. It doesn't matter how ridiculous it sounds or if it doesn't make sense. It's not about me, it's about them and their lives and what's only specific to them that no one else could possibly know. I specifically get kind of a male, lacking with a male father figure. It's almost like an empty, they're showing me an empty road. Was your father absent or not around in the picture? It just feels weak. It doesn't feel like it's not there, but it feels weak.
So weird. So interesting already. My brother and I were adopted by my aunt and uncle when we were really young.
Right.
So our biological father died when my biological mom was pregnant with me. So I never met him, but I always had wished that I did.
Right.
And then my adoptive father was around until I was a teenager. Then he moved us to Pennsylvania from upstate New York when I was going into high school. And that was really hard for me because I lost all of my friends and went to a new school. Then he left.
How did he pass away?
It was a combination of alcohol and pills. So him and my biological mom both had like drug problems
Yeah.
and alcohol problems. So he was moving or helping somebody move, and it was a really hot day. And I guess like the alcohol mixed with like the heat and with whatever pills he had taken just kind of like stopped him.
Right.
And then he just like collapsed, I guess.
No matter what, there's information that's in their body, there's information that's in their energy field. So it's my job to then convey what the guides are showing me, because it helps them to get to the core of an issue. And if they can concentrate on that, let's say it's self-esteem, and these incidences caused them to have this PTSD or this type of self-esteem. If we can target the main issue and help them with their self-esteem and help them to heal that wound, then it doesn't just affect one area of their life, it affects their whole life, their whole existence. I can feel the love that he had for you, but I more so feel the guilt that he has for what he did to you. Your guides are kind of standing there very protective, kind of with like spears, and they're like, no, we got to protect her.
Yeah.
Because that's not her destiny, and we need to give her all of the tools and all of the people that are going to put her on the right path. And even if you had your days of like drinking, partying, whatever, okay, but at the end of the day, you've always considered other people.
Yeah.
That's always been more important to you.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter if you were an addict or not, it wouldn't even matter, because deep down inside, you just care too much to not be like that. Not to put you on the spot, but your guides just want to let you know what you're seeing in the mirror, it's not true.
Yeah.
What you see in photos, it's not true. People are looking at you and saying, my God, I wish I looked like that girl. Like,
Crazy.
does she know how gorgeous she is? And it's not that you're ungrateful. It's not that you don't want to see those things. You want to see those things so badly. You totally want to look in the mirror and say, God, I am beautiful. And I totally deserve to be treated well.
Yeah.
But it's impossible, having come from those circumstances. The most important thing is that you're healthy.
Yeah.
Most important thing, because you will always be gorgeous. I hate to break that to you, but if you gain 100 pounds, you're still going to be beautiful. Even if you don't feel that way, it's always going to be that case for you. So right now, since you're at such a young age, learn to respect your body, to love your body. Like binge restrict cycles, that's not going to serve you. And you're right at that point. They're showing me like the end of a mark that you can actually catch it now. You can turn it into something positive and something good for you. We've all been educated and pre-programmed to be exactly the way that we are today. So if something's not working in your life, it's not because, you've been abandoned by your guides or you're stupid or, none of that. That shame just prevents you from seeking and educating yourself on other opportunities and other ways of doing things. I think when I was a little girl, I knew something was up, because I would just know things or say things that there was no possible way that I could have known them. And I think deep down inside, I've always known that I had these abilities. I didn't know if it was normal or if it was okay. If I talked about it, I feel like people would just brush it over. But it wasn't until college did people really start to say, like, you always know what's going to happen, and how do you know these things? And that's when I really started to recognize that that was a part of my identity. I attended Catholic school my whole life, private school, private high school. I even went to a Joshua college. It was always a part of my existence, studying the Bible, good Catholic schoolgirl, altar server even. I always talked to God, and that wasn't something that other people admitted or came out about. And I remember reading that Jesus would say, go talk to Dad. So I would go and talk to God, and I would wait for an answer, and sometimes I would hear an answer. Sometimes I would hear information or have instincts that I knew immediately was God speaking to me or speaking through me. I always felt sort of like an outsider in the community. Maybe it was because of psychic stuff, maybe it was just because I stood out. I was in a predominantly Latino community. I was the baby of the family and the only one with blonde hair, blue eyes. I just wanted to fit in. I never wanted to be different than anyone else. I truly just wanted to be accepted. I am Latino, but there was always a spiritual connection to Native American cultures, and I wasn't raised with my father's side of the family. I do know that I received my psychic gifts from his side of the family because I have a half brother, and we've talked about it and talked about very similar experiences. So even though it was difficult, I never had someone to guide me and to validate this is something real. It was validating for me to later find out that I wasn't alone in those experiences or having psychic abilities. Growing up, it wasn't encouraged, psychic abilities or communicating with the dead, and I thought a lot of times that maybe I dreamt something or made it up in my head. But growing up, I thought I had a nanny. I would go to sleep, and in the corner of my room I would see this woman, and she was in a rocking chair, and she made me feel safe and feel like I wasn't alone. And I always thought that I was this rich kid with a nanny and had that support system. Years later, I must have been a teenager when, my whole family knew about this nanny that I had. They thought it was a imaginary character or something, an imaginary friend. Turns out I completely, to a T, described my great-grandmother that I'd never met before. And there was no explanation. I'd never seen a photo of her. But that was the person that was sitting in my room. I pushed down experiences or realities of myself that might make other people uncomfortable. And being psychic was one of those. So I just didn't share it. Maybe once or twice with girls in high school. It was also kind of confusing that some religious denominations were very inviting and wanted me to participate and to tell them messages, and yet I felt denied or ostracized by my own community.
Well, you say some of them invited you in, so was it like they considered you a prophet?
Yes, I would. It feels so weird calling myself a prophet, and I get asked that a lot. Are you a psychic or are you a prophet? And ultimately, I do feel that I deliver messages for spirit, so, for God. So I have a really great nun friend, and she's like, of course you're a prophet. But no matter what it is, I think growing up, it was confusing. I didn't understand the difference between a prophet or a prophetic message and psychic abilities and what that means. There was no label on it. It was just me experiencing things and not knowing to do with it. Having a Catholic nun validate that your gifts are valuable was one of the best experiences of my life. being a psychic never frightened me, but it seemed like, oh, that'd be cool for that person. Like, if someone over there, oh, like, that's so cool that they have those abilities. But me? Oh, you know, and then it seems so cool when it's someone else, but then when it's you, it's a whole other situation. And I think that frightened me, just the idea of, what do I do with this? Like, what is God asking of me?
Your guides are showing me the image of a small dog, and I see, I mean, as an outsider looking in, it's a small girl. She might have been between 6 and 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I see like a small little puppy that, you know, kind of reminds me of Melody, your current puppy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also letting you know that there's a PTSD situation. So there was a lot of change happening in your life. And the one stable that you had, your source of family, your source of life was this dog. Did you have a dog growing up?
We've had a lot. There's Melody, my Yorkie, is probably, I think it's the 7th dog in our family's generation of Yorkies. So they're all Yorkies.
Wow.
But, you know, there's a couple that really stuck to my mom, and it was like, you know, just her daughter, her other daughter, her four-legged daughter, we said.
Right.
There was like Inga, there was Maxine.
Okay. When you were 6 to 8 years old?
When I was 6 to 8, that was Inga.
Inga, right. That's the one that I'm seeing coming through.
Okay.
And, you know, sometimes they want to show me something to relate to you, but I don't necessarily need to know the details. Because
that was when they got divorced.
Right.
So Inga was there for the marriage, but obviously my mom kept her when they got divorced.
Right.
And I just remember when Inga passed, it was like...
Right.
I was still so young, so I didn't really know what was going on. But my mom, I've never seen her so
upset,
like grieving, you know, as if a human died, and they are part of the family. So it was. I just remember it was being very haunting when Inga passed.
What your guides are trying to relate is that because that was a PTSD.
What is PTSD?
It's unprocessed emotions, and it builds up in your body.
Okay.
And it creates a neural pathway that kind of, you know, for the rest of your life triggers you.
Okay.
So, you know, someone who, you know, might have starved as a child, but had, you know, canned potatoes to rely on. As an adult, they may, you know, be obsessed with canned potatoes, and they don't understand why.
Interesting. Okay.
So, you know, specifically Yorkies for you represent a time in your life before your family, and they're showing me the image of a break. But they're also showing me physical abuse. And, you know, it may be, it's active in your aura. So it's a reality of the family, maybe something you didn't even know about, but I do see as a little girl you gravitating towards the dog, and that being a symbol of a together home, a together family, and that cycle, you know, going throughout your life, which makes sense. Then you end up having 7 Yorkies, and now you have a Yorkie.
Yeah.
So they're trying to relate to you that that's a symbol for you, and that's, you know, I feel specifically that time in your life, there's some stuff that was not processed, you might have forgotten, because that little girl inside of you is trying to protect herself.
Okay.
And trying to not remember things about her family or things that you saw, but there is a correlation there that you should know about.
Okay. I don't remember, but if it did exist, not even specifically with my mom and dad, if it did exist somewhere in our immediate family, I could possibly see that happening. Yeah. In the past.
When people come to me and they didn't know that they were abused, or they have repressed memories, and I'm able to convey to them an experience that actually justifies why they are the way that they are. That's so important, because ultimately I think I'm dealing with people who are spiritually sick. You know, there's been some type of tear between them and their guides. They've experienced some type of heartache, you know, in the physical world, and they're trying to figure out why they are the way that they are, why their relationships or their money or whatever it is, why is this happening to them? So just to be able to give them an answer and to give them that clarity, it's huge. It's priceless. You can't ask for anything better than that.
Do you know of maybe like a jasmine, a jade in your family, because they're talking about domestic
Okay.
or some type of emotion?
I was in an abusive relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's coming up, and your guides are relating that back to it's some type of correlation to your family.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's not really. It was my relationship, and I distanced myself from my family. Almost weird, because I just didn't want them to find out what I was going through.
Right.
It was very quick.
They give me a lot of images of it being like, specifically like this weight of this abuse on your back,
Yeah.
Like they are showing me images of you kind of like bruises or, taking all of this onto you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And they're saying now you're trying to let that go, but you did the best that you could.
Mm-hmm.
You were a survivor, and you don't have to erase anything or be in a rush to move on past it, because you're a better mom, you're a better wife, you're a better friend because of everything that you went through. And your daughter will never experience that. She'll never see that. You and your husband are so solid. I see another baby girl in your life. So I think with it, probably next year you're going to be pregnant with another child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and they're saying with fertility, don't be worried, because it seems like there's a concern or worry that it might take some time.
Yeah.
Did that happen with your first child?
Yeah, it took 2 years.
Got it. It's not going to take as long this time.
Okay.
It'll be good.
Okay.
But I do also see a female, and some it's going to be a baby girl.
Fun.
Not saying that it couldn't be a boy, but I see a baby girl in your future.
Mm-hmm.
I see your husband being really happy about that. And I also see that I see you taking like herbs and like tinctures, and it's basically just because a friend suggests it to you.
Okay.
Take that advice. That'll help you get pregnant.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I will. I've had a few suggestions. I have to go back in my texts and really read them now, because there was a few little herbal things that got sent my way. So maybe I will do that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
People call me when they've explored every other option and their last resort is, okay, let's see what a psychic can tell me. And that may be the very thing that they need to hear.
You actually have a grandmother presence from the other side that seems to be coming through. At least she feels like a grandma.
Yeah.
And I think she's really heartbroken over the fact that you have no idea how amazing you are, and because of your family's problems that they were struggling with.
Whew, sorry.
It's okay. Because of what they went through, you had to suffer through that. You had to be a victim of things that you didn't deserve.
Yeah.
And I feel like it goes more beyond the abandonment. I feel like it even goes further than that.
Yeah.
That there was things that you shouldn't have experienced.
Yeah.
And because of it, you have this relationship with your body that is a reflection of those circumstances.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're trying to abandon your body sometimes. Yeah. And, there's this woman coming through. There's this woman coming through, and she's like, but stop it. Stop your dieting. You're so beautiful.
Oh, Eleanor.
Is that Eleanor?
Yeah,
Is that
it's my
who's
grandma.
coming through?
Yeah.
Yeah, she says yes. And she's glad that you recognized her because she didn't think you would.
No, I totally do.
You know, without even giving a name.
Yeah.
But she said that you've always been like so beautiful as like a little girl. And she said, don't listen to people because she likes what you do with your hair. She likes your piercings. And she goes, I know that this person would say, don't do that.
Yeah.
But she's like,
Aw.
but do that because that's who you are.
Yeah.
And so good at calling people out. Like, you can see it a mile away. Eleanor is saying trust your instincts.
Yeah.
And trust your instincts about specifically a female that's in your life right now.
Okay.
And there's someone that might be up for question. Trust your instincts and she's saying don't give too much of yourself to people.
Yeah.
Because, you know, she's just kind of showing me images of like one after another, kind of like dominoes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, ugh, it just seems like a pattern that's never going to end. The more your self-esteem goes up, the more protective you become of yourself, the more you honor that voice and your instincts, and you don't allow people like that to mess with you.
Yeah.
So that's okay. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Spirit is all-inclusive. It's kind of like infinity, but it will come in infinite forms. So Spirit comes to you in the form that you need Spirit to come into. And that's different for every person. Some person needs, you know, female love and compassion and grace. But someone else might need someone really strong and bold and God the Father, God the Protector. And all of that's okay. God doesn't have an ego. Spirit doesn't have an ego. It's really about you and you having the best life you can possibly have. Your guides keep pointing me towards this specific tattoo.
Oh, so weird. That is actually for my family. It's a pair. So when... That's so funny. When I was a kid, before bed, we would say, love you and like you, see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that was like always our saying. So probably my grandmother sees that. Because
Right.
I got it after she passed away. But yeah, that's always been like our thing. So like... Or before we were adopted, we would talk on the phone with my adoptive mom before she adopted us. And before we got off the phone, we'd always say, love you and like you.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think she's just validating for you that, you know, she keeps pointing to your arms and then to your heart. And she's saying, but we're not going anywhere. We'll always be here.
Yeah.
So that's never leaving you. That's always going to be a part of you. She's actually one of your main guides. So here she is with you, and she can do more for you in the spirit realm than she could ever do here.
Yeah.
You will never be disenfranchised.
Yeah.
You'll always have a strong foundation and people that care about you. You know, doing the work that I do, I've realized that we can't live our lives solely depending on ourselves, or we will continue to outlive the same story over and over again. Asking for help is evolution, and that's what helps us to outgrow our ideas, our belief systems. I've done it, you know, I've needed to rely on other people to help me and guide me outside of what I was programmed to become.
Gracie, make pretties on your face. Make pretties. All right. Make pretties. Passing through. Give me a kiss.
My experience is really interweaved in the work that I do because I feel like I can only deliver messages or relate to people based on the experiences that I've had. I can't really speak on, I can maybe give them a message, but I can't specifically talk about a certain subject. So I always pray, send me people that I can help, send me people that my story is relevant to. Growing up, I didn't feel accepted. I felt
ostracized, I suppose. And I spent most of my life trying not to be me. I tried to be the perfect daughter, actress, student. I went to Oxford University, LMU, Vassar. You know, it was a struggle to even tell my family that I wanted to be an artist, because that was risky. It wasn't something that was set in stone. So telling them that I was psychic was out of this world.
What's important, it's not the fame or glory. It's learning how. And if I have faith, it doesn't hurt so much.
Y'all are rude and unhappy people who have no respect for anyone but themselves. And if you want to continue with this games and pointing your Christian finger at me, you better watch out, because I can point it right back at you, all the way to your husband and that secretary that he is so fond of.
It's always funny when my clients Google me, because they're like, oh, I saw your acting stuff and I saw you on TV and I saw you in this video, or I saw your paintings, and I'm like, You know, I get kind of happy and excited when they see my stuff or see my outside interests.
With that, it seems like you had to kind of come to this place primarily on your own with your spiritual gifts. But was there anyone early on who was sort of an anchor for you while you're kind of dealing with all this and struggling with your gift?
When I was in high school, my cousin, he went into the Marines, and he was wounded in Iraq. His platoon was bombed. And the night before, my grandfather, he had a dream that he was standing in front of him with a cloak on, and he was yelling at him to turn around, and he knew that something was wrong. That day we found out that his platoon had been bombed, that he was being sent to Germany, and he was gravely injured. He nearly died. And I think my grandfather and I always had that spiritual connection with one another. We just understood. We had that sensitivity. So even though most people that I was raised with, most of my family didn't get it and they didn't understand it, he was the one person, like, I felt like I could communicate with my grandfather without words. Him and I just understood each other. He always accepted me. He always saw me not for being a girl or on the outside. He purely saw me from who I was on the inside. And he used to act like I was sunshine. He was the one person that wasn't counting my accomplishments or how hard I worked or, you know, what reputation I gave him. He just loved me and accepted me for me. My grandfather accepted me exactly how I was, and I used to test him. I was ornery. Like, I would literally be like, what if I'm gay, grandpa? What if I'm a transsexual? What if I, you know, get in trouble? What if I go to jail? What if I, you know, just anything that would test specifically his generation, I would push the envelope, and he would just come back with the sweetest messages, like, oh, well, then I would have a grandson. And he just loved me. He loved me in a way that, you know, was unique, and I just always felt like I could be myself with him, no matter if that was psychic or an artist, a girl. It didn't matter. He loved me and he accepted me.
I feel really amazed. It was super crazy. I don't want to say like I was skeptical, because I totally believe in it, but it was just so weird how quickly like my grandmother came through, and it like made me like get emotional for a second because I could like, in a way, feel it myself, and I wasn't expecting it.
I'm feeling like, honestly, like a little drained. It's very emotional. I'm happy. I'm also shaken a little bit, but it was definitely a wonderful experience.
I would say I kind of expected that it would make me emotional. Like, honestly, like I had a feeling that something would happen that would make me emotional. And I would say that like it was crazy to me that like the spirits could sense things that I know about myself, that I don't talk about, like how I feel about my appearance and things like that. It was really crazy to have that come through because it's not something that I ever really talk about.
And just to find out that some of my feelings that are hidden deep down, kind of like maybe I forgot about them, and for her to bring them back up, was just, it was overwhelming, but at the same time, it was also a relief because it's going to make me think, and not just right now, maybe in a couple days from now, think about how I've been feeling and fixing certain things that I want to be fixed. So it helped out a great deal.
Looking back, there wasn't anything wrong with me. There just wasn't, I didn't fit in the box that I was in. And, I went to college, and my grandfather, who raised me as his daughter, he was the one person that I felt in this box that I never really fit in. He got me, he understood me, and he loved me. At least the most. I had that connection with him. I relied heavily on working my butt off in school. I just thought that was the way. I always felt like I had something to prove. Like there was something wrong with me in the world. I didn't make sense. So I would work really hard, and then my success would prove that clearly there's something right with me, that I deserve to live, to have life. So I worked really hard. I got a full ride to any college that I wanted. Initially, I studied law, or I planned on studying law, and I went to Oxford, Queen's College, and had some really amazing experiences, and I saw the world, and I realized I didn't have to be the person that I thought I had to be. So then I decided to be an artist. I went to Vassar College to study theater production. One thing you can't say about me is I don't know how to work hard, because I do. And that's always been for me a form of safety. So when things go wrong, I get more organized, I work harder, I control as much as I can. But the reality of life is some things happen and you can't control them no matter what you do. When I was in college, he was diagnosed with cancer. So not only am I a full-time student with a job and a scholarship and grades that I have to upkeep, but I was driving home to take care of him, and he meant so much to me. He was more than my grandfather. He represented my family staying the way that they were, and I was so afraid that once he died, I would lose that validation. No one would see me or accept me. And the more that I tried to be accepted and be the person that I thought people would accept, the more that I hurt myself. My beliefs taught me to pray to God, and I did. I prayed a lot for my grandfather to not be sick. And when that didn't work, I went to the New Age, The Secret, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I tried to think positively, and when the person that you love most in the world is dying, it's really hard to do that. So I tried to be positive, and I tried to think positive things, but that did not stop him from getting sicker and sicker and going into hospice. When my grandfather was sick, you know, here was this Clint Eastwood man who was always so strong, used to put me on his arm, and I'm the baby of the family. And I was also, it was confusing because it was my grandfather, but I'm 24 years old, seeing my father, essentially, his body fail him, and you feel helpless and hopeless. There was a part of me that knew he was dying, and it felt like my whole world was dying. And I prayed. I sincerely, when everything else failed me, I just prayed that I would go with him, because I just couldn't imagine a life without him and what that would mean, because he was the only person that loved me in that way. And I had tried so hard to be something different than what I was, that I didn't know when he would pass away what would be left.
You're Grandpa's boy. You're Grandpa's boy. You take good care of Grandpa. Good boy, Oxford. You're a good boy.
And he was sick for 6 months, a really painful process of watching the person you love the most in the world just disintegrate in front of your eyes. And we did have that spiritual connection, and I felt like he specifically, like, I know it might not make sense, but he waited for my birthday just to tell me in a card that I was his baby, for him to finally go. And so, you know, I had to be the control freak. I had to be the rock of the family and the responsible one. So I was in charge of his morphine and wasn't sleeping. And on the outside, you would think, wow, she handles things really well. And on the inside, I wished that I would die. Truly, I truly felt like God had left me. And that was just the darkest point in my life, when I really didn't want to live. I remember not sleeping for a week and giving him his morphine, and I walked downstairs to go to the restroom before I was going to give it to him again, and I felt him walk up behind me, and I knew he was going. So I told him, I love you, but I don't want to see you. I really don't need to see my grandfather's spirit right now, but I love you and thank you so much. And you can go now. And I walked over to his body and I watched him take his last breath.
I feel like Grace was extremely positive. Whoever she was channeling, my guides, my pop-up came in, which that's actually the one thing, if anybody's going to come through, it's him.
I thought that Grace was very comfortable to talk to, and I think that she has a great energy about her, so I felt like it was really easy to talk to her. And I felt like she was very genuine. You can kind of see her like go to her own place like while you're talking, and kind of like see how she's connecting with the guides, which is super crazy. So yeah, I thought it was really awesome and really cool.
She's not what I expected as a psychic. So she is a sweetheart. She whoever comes through to her, and the way she presents and tells you about what is in your future, what's going on inside. It's just so, it's very endearing and it's very sweet. And the way that she delivers it, whoever's and she said, don't blame the messenger. She's a sweetheart. She knows what she's doing.
Grace isn't necessarily what I think of when I think of a psychic. But again, I think that's just kind of media's portrayal of a psychic.
I was surprised, you know, that she was able to tell me about another baby and that it won't take as long as the first, which is a main concern. And I was also surprised that she was able to touchy subjects, but bring up you know, a past abusive relationship that I have been trying to like forget about, and she brought up a lot of different hidden emotions with that, and there's some complicated things that I do need to work on and get past, and she made me feel much better about that whole situation.
After that, I was just in the darkest place. I felt so alone, and I remember specific people in my life acting just not supportive. I remember being yelled at by, God, I shouldn't talk about this, but I just remember at that moment realizing that all of my beliefs about God and spirituality and life and how you're supposed to cope with life had completely and utterly failed me. I was relying on what I was taught to be and what I thought was the answers, and I was on the road to killing myself. So that wasn't gonna work anymore. And that was the point where I knew that I needed help, and I didn't want to live like that. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life dead, like on the inside. I didn't want to feel hopeless for the rest of my life or to continue to be something that I wasn't. So I got down on my knees and I questioned everything. I didn't know if God existed or Buddha or, you know, Chuck E. Cheese. I had no idea who was in the sky, if they were even there, if they cared about me. You know, I really questioned all of my beliefs. And I was crying hysterically, and I said, okay, I'm done playing God. I'm done putting all of the responsibility on my shoulders and blaming myself and hating myself, and I don't know what to do. Help me, Grandpa. Help me, whoever is up there. And very audibly, I heard, you can call me Grace. And I wouldn't believe that if I wasn't there, but I was there, and it was an experience that'll make your hairs on your body stand up. I was like, goosebumps, totally freaked out. I audibly heard a voice. And unless you experience that yourself, there's no way of even believing that, but that's what I experienced. And I said, okay, Grace, it is. And ever since then, I've focused on not taking all of this responsibility in my life, but doing what Grace wants me to do and following my guide. She is my guide. She is my God. She is everything to me. She sent me here to be me. As much as I didn't fit into a mold, she sent me here to be me. So the first thing that I did, the first thing that she told me to do was go help people. Be a psychic. And I said, okay. You know, I had already surrendered. There was really nowhere else to go, so I did. And immediately my self-esteem changed. Immediately it was successful, and I was helping people and seeing people's lives change. And it wasn't through my guidance. It wasn't through, you know, Gracie Rae's vision of what your life should look like. It was purely from the information that I was receiving from Spirit.
I've always believed in magic since I was little. Do you remember when we used to play games and run around and life seemed so full of possibility and potential and excitement? It's my personal mission that you have that energy back. Because we should be excited. I want you to love your life. I want you to leave this reading loving not me, but yourself so much more.
Hey guys, it's Grace. I'm going live out of Los Angeles.
Isn't this perfect for Pisces? Hi everyone, it's a beautiful day in Los Angeles. I just got home and I'm gonna update the astrology. I love you, have a fantastic day!
It just completely healed me. It healed my spiritual sickness, my spiritual, rupture from this idea of God or whatever's out there. And I know that, religion can be the key to freedom for some people, but it can also be bondage for others. And I felt such shame for, not being the perfect Catholic schoolgirl, not following the rules. And once I broke out of those rules, just specifically being me and honoring myself, I realized that was what God wanted me to be all along.
I feel like I definitely feel closer to my guides after the experience. And I think there's been times where I've definitely felt my grandmother specifically, like I'll see her favorite bird or something like that and I'll know that she's kind of there. Or something will happen where I just suddenly think of her, but this made me feel like she really is with me.
I do believe that once I think about everything and I go back and process everything, I have full faith that yes, I am closer to myself. I will figure out all of these deep emotions going on based on what Grace told me. And closer to God, yeah, sure, because especially if what she said comes true, oh my gosh, yes, closer to God indeed.
I feel that my future is bright at this point from this experience. I think that I've definitely more recently been thinking a lot more about my future and feeling kind of uneasy about it, but this kind of made me feel like I have the guides there to be with me, to help me go where I need to go. So I'm feeling a lot more positive about my future, I would say.
I feel more positive about the future now.
I like to identify with clients. I like to let them know that I'm also human, I also make mistakes, and it's okay. And to differentiate, I'm Gracie Rae. I am not Grace. I am not spirit, incarnate. I'm a human being too, and I make mistakes. And more that's become an active part of my readings because I just want to make people feel good and let them know that they're not alone in their struggles. Ever since I've gone on this journey of following Grace and, honoring myself, my life has completely 180'd in a direction that's far better than anything that I could have planned for myself. I like me and I like the life that I'm living and I like helping people, and as long as I have these gifts, I'm gonna want to share it with the world because they were meant to be shared with the world.
Ready, Lil? Here we go!
I'm like anyone else. I'm sitting here amazed when information comes out during a reading. I'm the one that's freaking out. I'm like, are you serious? Did that just happen? I get so excited because I'm witnessing this too. This is pretty damn magical and miraculous. But at the end of the day, this isn't about me. This isn't about being a psychic. I'm not a superhero. I couldn't do this without spirit. This is 100% wholly a testament that there is something on the other side. There's something that cares about us.
There you go.
Ultimately, I would say that this is a gift of grace.